Good morning. It is Monday, May the 13th, and this is The Drill. Good morning, and thank you very much. This is Ron, your host, the one of only two true conservatives in the United States of America today. Myself and President Trump are the only ones that make the presumption for the status quo. And I'm talking to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. So first thing up is I want to pay tribute to Dev Group Gold Squadron operator and Navy SEAL William Ryan Owens, who was killed in action in Yemen. Rest easy, Ryan. You are never forgotten, sailor. And that's from op_Hawkeye on Instagram. Now, I wanted to play a clip for you of from the John and Ken show. So let me go ahead and do that.
John, and there'd still be another million openings. So what's happening? What's the mismatch? People don't want to work. Let's go to these guys in San Clemente. Maybe we should revive an old routine we used to do and hand out job listings to these people. Well, say, why can't you do this job? Why can't you do this job? Why can't you do this job? You're going by the unemployment rates because we're always suspicious of those because they don't count certain categories like people who give up and all that stuff. So no, they don't. You got to be fair because during the Obama administration we used to say that they don't count people who give up. But I can see a lot of people in Southern California have given up. Yeah, well, I know, but I'm counting them. See. And because there are these job openings, there's several million job openings. I think I read like 6 or 7 million. What kind of jobs are not that matters if you're not working? I mean, no one here. It's all in the service business. I would have to work at a Burger King or. When you're sitting in your own feces, that's the best you can do right now. But those people aren't capable. They're mental patients. No. I read today that one candidate is running for office up in the valley is saying, no, these people are not lazy. Oh, she called them the working homeless. And I saw that and I go, what? Show me the working homeless. Show me that guy. Really? No, I said, if we didn't accept excuses, like you remember growing up, nobody accepted an excuse why you weren't working. There was no such thing. You were shamed. That's right. You were shamed. You were shamed by your family. I was even shamed that I was in high school. I didn't have like a summer job. Shame. Yes, me too. When I was home for a time after I graduated high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. My dad was on my case every day, insisting I should go to the factory with him. Yeah. So you go to work. Summer I didn't work at college. My father made me paint the house. The idea of a man not working was inconceivable to our parents' generation. Just inconceivable. You were like, it's as if you had leprosy or something. Well, different times. Well, we need to bring back that time. That time worked. You didn't have this. I never saw a vagrant in our town. Not once. Never. Not once did I see a single vagrant. Not a bum, not a transient. Not because it wasn't tolerated. My observation of life in Southern California, especially as the years go by, is that we really have, how would you describe this economy exactly? There are so many people that, I'm a consultant. Well, I work part-time. I work from home. That don't really have traditional jobs. But even the consultants have homes. I would assume they do. And they may be grifters. Yes. Kiting bank accounts or checking accounts, trying to flap things over. Like who's that? That Avenatti guy. People like that, right? They're always borrowing and stealing from one and trying to cover up debt on the other side. My son, my oldest son, who graduated college, he spent the weekend with some of his old high school friends. They had a mini reunion of sorts. And I asked about one of the guys. What's he doing? Well, he just quit his job. It was with a startup. And I go, well, what was the job? He goes, well, that's why he quit. He didn't understand the job. And the job didn't exactly start up. Yeah, the kid did not understand what he was doing there. Oh, because it was some vague startup that got some venture capital money. You'll probably find out half the people there did not know what they were doing. And he's a really, really smart guy. That's a great way to describe it. We got a bunch of venture capital money. What do we do with it? I don't know. Let's just come to work and pretend.
Okay, so what they're talking about there is it says Clemente is what they're talking about, is a beach community in Orange County, and there's a bunch of homeless people that are hanging out there. A lot of them are drug addicts, and they're doing the San Francisco bit where they're leaving behind needles and feces. They're just pooping all over the place in San Clemente. They were in other places in Orange County and other cities, and they would hang out near City Hall, and they would do the same thing. They would just hang out and poop all over the place and use needles, and eventually they got everybody, they had to get with the courts and the ACLU, and it was a big process, but they put them in hotels for about a month and offered, and those that wanted help and treatment and whatnot, they offered them help and treatment. And but eventually, what happened is that as soon as they got them out of there, then they cleaned the place up, the civic center. They cleaned it all up and everything, and make sure that these homeless people don't come back. So the homeless basically then moved on to those when their 30-day hotel voucher ran out. They moved in basically to San Clemente, because basically what they were sort of scattered throughout Orange County. So that's basically what they're talking about, and they want to do a show from San Clemente and go down there, and because the community members in San Clemente are angry, the city council won't do anything about getting these vagrants, bums, as John referred to them, off the street, because they say, well, there's been a lawsuit, and we're not allowed to move them unless we have some place to put them. And John was making the point that that's baloney, that it is illegal to poop in the streets. It's illegal to sit in the streets and shoot heroin in your arms, and so they could be arrested and taken off the street that way. But the city council, for a variety of reasons, doesn't want to do that. Now, what's interesting about their show, and the reason that I am really consider, especially John Cobelt, a conservative, a true conservative, is again the way he communicates. Ken Champeau, not so much, but John Cobelt, very much a true conservative. He communicates in a very direct way. He communicates in an unequivocal way. If you listen to other pundits, other talk show hosts, they'll vacillate, they'll equivocate, and they will be indefinite about things. They will communicate actually more like a lefty than a conservative. John Cobelt doesn't do that. He comes right out and says, this is what's happening, this is what's going on, this is what's real, this is what should happen or shouldn't happen. He's not afraid to make value judgments. He's not afraid to come out and say, this is wrong, this is right, this is insane, this is good, this is bad. He's not afraid to do that. And you can hear it when he was talking about when they were growing up and the idea of not having a job. It just didn't occur to anybody to not have a job. If you're a man and you're 18 years old, and very often, like they were saying, younger than that, if you're 16, you were expected to. When I grew up, I had a paper route when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, because a lot of kids had paper routes because parents would get children interested in working as soon as they possibly could. And the problem is, and what happened is, the hippie movement comes along, the lefty hippies, and they basically said, why should I work? And the problem is that nobody had an answer for it. They didn't at least have a good answer for it. It came out as being materialistic. Well, you have to make money. Why? Well, you're going to want to get married. Why? Well, you're going to want to buy a house. Why? And at the end of the whole discussion, the right, the conservatives, had no real answer for it. The real answer, actually, for why it is that you go out and work is because it's good for your soul. It's good for your character. That's why you go out if you're in a situation where, let's say you get laid off or fired or you quit, you go out and you get another job. It doesn't matter if that job is something that you're used to doing or not used to doing or whatever. If you're, you're a Wall Street banker and you get fired or laid off and you're struggling to find a Wall Street banker job, in the meantime, you should be doing something else. You should be driving a cab. You should be flipping hamburgers if you have to. You do something productive because it is good for your character, it is good for your soul, and not only that, it's good for the community that you live in. So it's really good for everybody. But because people basically took it for granted, John's was told, again, you're not going to hang around. If you don't have anything to do, you can come with me to the factory and work. That kind of thing. And his father probably was told the same thing by his father and his father and his father. But nobody ever stopped to say, this is why. This is why it's necessary for you to be working, productive, and busy. The old saying is, idle hands are the devil's workshop. So if you're not doing anything, you're just loafing about, you're more likely to get into trouble. So again, it's a character issue. If you're out working, you're doing something productive, even if it's just, if you just have a paper route, whatever it is, selling things door to door. We used to go and sell, we had an avocado tree in our backyard, and we'd get the avocados up and get our wagon and fill them with avocados and go door to door and sell avocados. Now, unfortunately, almost everybody in the neighborhood had an avocado tree in their backyard, so we didn't end up selling very many avocados. But the point was, you're doing something. You're being productive. You're not just going to loaf around and then end up smoking dope or shooting heroin or getting drunk or maybe getting into gambling habits and things of that nature. You're doing well for your character. You're doing well for your soul, and you're doing well for yourself and for your community. But again, with John Cobelt and Ken Champeau, they are very, John, like I said, more than Ken, definitive about things. They're not afraid to come out and say that a certain thing is wrong and that something else, right and wrong. They're not hesitating in making value judgments. So many of the other pundits that call themselves conservative hesitate to come right out. They'll describe behavior, and then they'll have this incredulous tone of voice. They basically ape the left. The left does the same thing, where the left won't come out and usually make this definitive statement and say, well, that's ridiculous or that's horrible. They'll say, you don't really believe that, do you? And it's the tone of voice that they're trying to manipulate you with. It's not the words. Because again, you can say, it's easy to answer. If you listen to the words, you can say, well, as a matter of fact, yes, I do. Is there a problem with that? Well, I've never heard of any such thing like that. They're going to come back again with the incredulous tone of voice because they're looking to intimidate you. They're looking for you to stammer and stutter and and equivocate. And one of the other ways that they do things is in describing behavior. They'll say, well, Ron actually went to work. Can you believe it? So again, making it sound by tone of voice like there's something wrong with it. It's one of their favorite things to do is to make a statement of fact, but make it sound like an accusation. But if you listen to the words, pay attention to the words, and less to the tone of voice, you won't be manipulated. You just basically come out and say, yeah, that's right, I went to work. So what? One of the best comebacks to a lefty is so. It's one of the best comebacks. Any type of question to a lefty is an excellent comeback, but so is one of the best. So, because basically, again, it's going to be up to you and I. We have to change the culture before we're going to be able to change the politics. And in a manner of speaking, it's not even going to be really about changing the culture. It's going to be about hanging on to and promoting the culture, whatever culture that we have left. True conservatives are people that are, in essence, normal folks. We are people that we have an open mind. We're not dogmatic. We will listen to another point of view, and if that other point of view is persuasive, we'll go ahead and adopt that point of view. But what we won't do is be manipulated. We won't be psychologically manipulated. We won't be bullied or intimidated. We're not going to allow people to use psychological tools and techniques to try to bully us into either shutting up or into going along with whatever it is that the self-appointed leader and change agent wants to do, or direction that self-appointed leader or change agent wants to go. So, and that's always the way it is with the people. You'll notice that there are people on the left, most people on the left, they present themselves as leaders and change agents. They're usually very bossy people. They will tell you what to do. You know what you should do? You should do this, you should do that, you should do the other thing. And they'll very often do it without even being asked. They just come right out and, hey, I noticed X, Y, Z. You know what you should do is blah, 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 blah. And they're exercising leadership and being a change agent. Because they've been told by the left on television, at MSNBC and various other places, you can be a leader, you can be a change agent. And they take it seriously. So one of the best ways to deal with that is refusing to be led. One of the most frustrating lady I used to speak to on a regular basis, Linda, who used to do leadership and change agent stuff all the time with me, with everybody. She did it with her kids. She did it with a man that she had that was helping her in her business. And so she would become incredibly frustrated when people didn't pay any attention, when they didn't listen to what it is that she had to say, when they didn't actually obey. Because that's basically what any leader is looking for, is obedience. Do as you're told. So, and again, true conservatives, we're normal folks, and that's what being a true conservative is really all about. Being a normal person and calling things as they are. If something is wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. And being able to look at oneself critically and be able to acknowledge that one has made a mistake and being willing to correct one's errors. It's another attribute of a true conservative. So that brings me to the conclusion of this episode of The Drill. And until next time, thank you very much for listening and have a great day.